a ghetto people song, only them can sing this world. It's a song for the poor who's facing separation. It's a ghetto people song, only them can sing this world. It's a song for the poor who's facing separation.
Yes, I have wasted my time. Wasted my time with trying to deal with mankind.
And that's a very hard thing to do.
But it tickles in the back of my mind.
Scratch.
Will, just to leave this world behind.
And then I would have fly like a bird.
I guess I'm not the only one. Not the only one. Like to see mankind living in tranquility.
You and I, T.Y. Sure.
And if only we agree,
Jump up together.
we can live in unity.
Like sisters and brothers.
We're all in this thing together. Then can't we all just live as one? Whoa. We're all like birds of one feather. It's time to live as one.
There are lots of signs in life, some that you may not like. You could be living this minute, the next minute you're gone away. Hold up your heads, my brothers. Be conscious, my sisters. And by your works you shall surely be paid. Never can miss the man with the anger, the one who's got the tiger, the one who sits high and he looks down low. And if you ever miss the man with the anger, the one who's got the tiger, then there's someone that you don't know.
Sing about the street life. Just the only life I know. Real life. In the select place I earn my dough. Read about the street life. It is the only life I know. Real life.
Hey baby girl, you let me feel good. You make me feel fine. So baby, live good and baby, be mine. I love you all the time. Hey baby girl, you make me feel good. You make me feel fine. So baby, be good. Baby, be mine. I love you all the time.
What I know? We step in at the bar, make a entry. Winnings with innings, chronics, make a century. Steam up and we have the better sense. Better that than we have beretta plenty. Babylon them a PREE man in the city. Get free find out them a demon in the city. When it all boil down to the deep and integrity, see it clear. They mix up in a iniquity. We step in at the wild battlefield where the beer gonna sprinkle. I love me feet, them now want. Spend Kyle and me see it, but still I see him a we guide and we shield. Them a PREE man in the city. Get we find out them a demon in the city. When it all boil down to the deep and integrity, see it clear. They mix up and we set ya over evil. Right pan we heart. Babylon afraid when the Gideon start. We a warrior boy. Tell them we a warrior boy, yes. And we say full suit of armor, sword in the hand, ready to go turn down dirty Babylon. And we a warrior boy. Tell them we a warrior boy. What you know?
Until the philosophy which old one race superior and another inferior. Until the philosophy which old one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. Everywhere is war. It's a war. that until they're no longer first class and second class citizens of any nation, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes, Miss War. That until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race, this a war. That until that day, the dream of lasting peace, world citizenship, rule of international morality will remaining but a fleeting illusion to be pursued but never attained. Now everywhere is war, war, and until the ignoble and unhappy regime that hold our brothers in Angola. One good thing about music when it hits you, oh, I say one good thing about music when it hits you, you feel no pain. Hit me with music, yeah. Hit me with music now. This is Trenchtown Rock. Don't watch that. Trenchtown Rock. Big fish or sprat now. Trenchtown Rock. You reap what you sow. Trenchtown Rock. And only Jaja know. One good thing about music when it hits you. Oh, I say one good thing about music when it hits you. You feel no pain. Hit me with music, yeah. Hit me with music now. This is Trenchtown Rock. Don't watch that. Trenchtown Rock. Big fish or sprat now. Trenchtown Rock. You reap what you sow. Trenchtown Rock. And only Jaja know. Trenchtown Rock. I'll never turn my back. Trenchtown Rock. I'll give the slum a try. Trenchtown Rock. I'll never let the children cry. Trenchtown Rock. Oh, you got to tell Jaja why. It's Kingston 12. It's Kingston 12. It's Kingston 12 now. It's Kingston 12. No.
While the daughter them whining. It's Spanish town, a prison oval rock. And some call it Spanish town, a prison oval rock. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. What a cool and deadly. Hey. The people are skanking while the daughter them whining. The rude boy them tripping. Ooh, yeah. What a cool and deadly, yeah. And in the ear that a jockey fashion. Back out your body that a water pumpy. Wine slowly that a cool and deadly. Move lively that a horseman scatty. So some call it Spanish town, but a prison oval rock. Some call it Spanish town, a prison oval rock. Way, what a cool and deadly. The water are watching while the prisoners are dancing. When them hear the music playing, and in the ear that a jockey fashion. Move slowly that a cool and deadly. Back out body that a water pumpy. Move lively that a horseman scatty. Ooh, ooh yeah, ooh yeah. What a cool and deadly. Some call it Spanish town, but a prison oval rock. Some call it Spanish town, but a prison oval rock. The prison prisoners are skanking while the water are watching. Some try to escape when them hear the music playing. So some call it vanish down, but a prison oval rock. Oh yeah.
Since the last call, I've been waiting for you to show up. Been chatting and people aren't sober. Turning on the late night news, yeah. Wanna call when I wanna call you. What we did yesterday was old news. Where the man it played by the rules. It's just the way we live and the way we live, let's go. We just spend time in a picture, baby, let's go.
Just that on me mind. Telephone love, some sweet on the line. Telephone love, just that on me mind. Telephone love, some sweet every time. Telephone love. Telephone love. Telephone love. Telephone love.
First time I laid eyes with you, you teased and said I'm untrue. Why? Yet deep in my heart I knew I was in love with you. So caress me, girl, embrace me, girl. You never ever go astray. Caress me, girl, embrace me, girl. Why? Caress me, girl, embrace me, girl. You never ever go away. Caress me, girl, embrace me, girl. Ooh. A man in my position can't afford to look ridiculous. Oh no. You insult my intelligence, making me so furious. So caress me, girl, embrace me, girl. You never ever go astray. Caress me, girl, embrace me, girl. Caress me, girl, embrace me, girl. Make me feel like $1 billion man.
Coconut jelly man, coconut jelly man, coconut jelly man, coconut jelly man. Coconut jelly man, oh you swing your portly so. You got me hooked on jazz, and now you look up province so. What did that I gotta do? What did that I gotta do? Coconut jelly man. What did that I gotta do? What did that I gotta do?
Hey, she love how I'm on a chop it. Say, me no fi stop it. Daily she have to come in faster than a rocket. The way I'm on a tuck it, she say I alone can rock it. Rock it, rock it.
Rock on, baby.
So me chop it hard, treat the jelly soft. And every time me tell her this, me see she a feel laugh. She say she love the energy she get off of me. Can't get enough, she want more of this.
Coconut jelly man, oh you swing your portly so. You got me hooked on jazz, and now you look up province so.
Ragamuffin reggae beat, dance all on the street, can't stall nor defeat. 2030 we still a do it. Every stage show we still a keep. Every big song them a repeat. Them a respond in a them feet. Them a clap hands in a them teeth. Make them heart attack in a my altar back. Enough style we have, them can't alter that. Me start a track and them me start attack. So what am I gonna do right after that? Me only spit lyrics, not really talk a lot and I know. Touchdown like quarterback for my count up. The money give me half of that. Me coulda do it for the hype, but me rather not. It give me joy if you write rhyme pan beat. Lay down like white line pan street. Music sweet, I just like one treat. Drop it hotter than island heat. Yeah, me with the island floor. It could have been digital, I don't know. Hear some people say I don't grow. Tell them all on car, time go show. Kick it like a ballatelli. You say me look better on a telly. Give me the word and me I got shelly. That I'm a dream with the sun and Nelly. Give me the rhythm and chop it a chop.
No, and this another play tay. Girl, you know I'm in tay. So tell me what you say, yeah. Bang, bang. I've been waiting for you, my lady. I'll be on my way to you soon. All through night till morning, don't leave me. Call your work and tell them about noon. I've been waiting for you, my lady. I'll be on my way to you soon. All through night till morning, don't leave me. Call your work and tell them about noon. Hey, I've been thinking about your deal. Putting you in positions that raise. My provisions stack up, it accumulate. See what you're facing, you know this ain't a play. Hey, this a baby in a playpen. Don't back off when time me regulating. Current a flow direct, we alternating. That's why your globe so bright, you go on with beatings. And I've been waiting for you, my lady. I'll be on my way to you soon. All through night till morning.
Hi, good evening. Good evening. This is just a public service announcement. Anyone who is parked at the top, at the front parking lot, we can't have anyone parking there. That is reserved for Itopia parking. Those who are parked at the top parking lot, please to go over next door to our main parking area. Thank you so much.
You wanna be, you won't face monotony. One call and me dip on your base like Odyssey. So me logically wake up to the morning tea with harmony. Wouldn't
pull up like your favorite song. Me wouldn't mind if you think about me when you play this one.
Yo, Prince.
All the stars align.
DJ Prince, play baby, play baby.
You're here with me right now. Think about you all the time. Now I'm looking in your eyes. Somebody tell me how. 'Cause I Good thing in a bed, your money seat. You're such a keeper, turn it up like a speaker, pull it up and repeat. As long me know say it's sweet, yo. Cause anytime me cross your mind, you woulda jump in a vehicle. Drive many miles just for picture. I'm gonna fist me. I spy that you see something you might like. Won't you come over if you really feel it? Ask all your questions, yes, I really mean it. I spy that you see something you might like. Won't you come over if you really feel it? Ask all your questions, yes, I really mean it. But come and see you with your crew, just a woman I go through, and I can tell say you admire the realness. Look at me, looking at you, now you don't know what to do. Just relax and I got in your feelings. Hey, I'm mostly conscious got this whiff and I'm out corner. You probably think that girl about that, bet you love the drama. But me kinda like the vibe, so I guess I can. Come over if you really wanna. I spy that you see something you might like. Won't you come over if you really feel it? Ask all your questions, yes, I really mean it. I spy.
If you feel like you have me wrapped up around your little finger, you're wrong. And everybody feel as if you lick me chip and I'm programmed to you. Think you alone can love me and I'll be broken if you walk out. But anytime you decide to pack up your things and leave, don't come back. One, go, don't come back. I won't cry, I'll be fine. Don't come back. Oh, don't come back. No matter make you do a richer where the good Lord split you. Don't come back. Roses are red, but life is real. This love is gone toxic and a poison weed. No need to play any games anymore. You're kinda loving and not loving to me. Drifting now, we're drifting. Remember when we were one? This ship is sinking. If we don't bail out, we're gonna drown. My cup is overflowing. I've had enough now. So anytime you decide to pack up your things and leave,
okay, then watch this. Them a watch and them a drop you like police, yeah. More time you have to sneak, come get way. Them say you a man, you a man. But I know business who you are. As long as you a link, whenever I call you, every man see your body instantly stardust. Girl, go and do your thing and love who you wanna. Cause I know business. I know business. Your business. I know business. Alright,
everybody get around. Everybody get around. Uptown, downtown. Me ready for you, girl. No matter what me say, me ready for you. I just one phone call. Me ready for you, girl. And when you call me, me ready for you. Don't ball. Me ready for you, girl. No matter what me say, me ready for you. I just one phone call. Me ready for you, girl. And when you call me, me ready for you.
Sweet mama, sit and you deserve me corazón. So nice to meet you. Could you tell me where you're from? Never seen a girl like you, you're hotter than the sun. Hotter than the sun, girl, you're hotter than the sun. Me and you together in the island having fun. Under the influence of sweet coconut rum, girl. Magical vibe, I don't want to be done. I need to give me your love, I'll never give you no bun. I wanna give you my love, give you my love, give you my love, baby. I wanna give you my love, give you my love, all of my love. Sweet, sweet, sweet love. I wanna give you my love, give you my love. I wanna give you my love, all of my love, yeah. Girl, love me down, be my Guantanamo, yeah. So tranquilo, I don't wanna stay in your space forever because I need no other girl but you. Me and you together in Jamaica having fun under the influence of sweet coconut rum, girl. Magical vibe, I don't want to be the
you my love, give you my love, all of my love. I wanna give you my love, give you my love, all of my love. Sweet, sweet, sweet love. I wanna give you my love, give you my love, give you my love, baby. I wanna give you my love, give you my love, all of my love, baby. Don't wanna stop it, don't wanna stop it. So into you, so into you, you can't get enough, enough, can't get enough, enough. Yeah. So sweet, you're all over me. Being you in these sheets, all I can see. I wanna give you my love, give you my love, give you my love. I wanna give you my love, give you my love, all of my love. I wanna give you my love, give you my love.
Check. Another one, two. So good night again, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so doing a quick check, of course, 5754 KM. You are blocking, so you need to move. We have 3 vehicles here that needs to move from where they are and go to the designated parking lot. All right, so that's 5754 KM. There's 3695 JJ 6655 HD. Again, those are 5754 KM 3695 JJ 6655 HD. So just remember to move your cars and go to the designated parking, all right? Thank you very much.
The saddest day in my life is when she left me with a broken heart. I was going insane.
Play again. Any man can take out a kerchief, but you're young.
What if my dreams never meant to be? Then I'll be living in misery. Girl, the saddest day in my life is when she left me with a broken.
Good evening again, everyone. We are about to start. I'm asking everyone to take a seat. But before we do, there are 3 cars that need to relocate immediately. I'm going to read the license plate numbers. 5754KH. I repeat, 5754KH. The second number, 3695JJ. Again, 3695JJ. And the third car, 6655HD. These 3 cars are parked upstairs, and you're being asked to relocate next door to number 8. where there is ample parking. You're being asked to move immediately. Welcome everyone to the 2024 edition of PREE Writing Studio. This is the first evening event. My name is Kerry Chen. I'm the curator of Dubbing 62. Thank you, Prof. Dubbing 62 is actually a project with myself and Mathew McCarthy. It's a visual narrative. Thank you. It's a visual narrative of the national evolution of Jamaica as articulated through popular Jamaica music from 1950s to 1979. That is in Side A. And then in August, Side B will actually be mounted right here, and the story will continue from 1980 all the way to contemporary era. And we're very pleased to be collaborating with Annie Paul and PREE to host these series of events. At this time, allow me to introduce the editor-in-chief of PREE, Annie Paul, who will bring greetings. Please make her welcome.
Thanks everyone. What a lovely audience to have on an evening like this. I'm absolutely melting. How are you all doing? As you can see. It is just such an amazing privilege to be here tonight amidst another art exhibition, this one, a brilliant one, which you must take the opportunity to go and look at. By Kerry and Mathew, because when we did this for the first time in 2022, we did it amidst Laura Facey's show downtown at Ormsby Hall. So here we are again, surrounded by art and lovely people. PREE was started by 4 of us in 2018, and I'm delighted that all 4 of us are here tonight. That's Diana McCaulay, Sharmaine Lovegrove, Isis Samaj Hall, and myself. We first planned our writing studio for 2020 and almost pulled it off, except for that pesky little virus, right? So we couldn't do it then. But this morning, 4 years later, we finally kicked off our writing studio for 2024, again with the help of the Prince Claus Fund, and in collaboration with the Department of Literatures in English at Mona at UWI. And 44 people have signed up for this writing studio and are taking advantage of it. About 2/3 of them are young students or young people who we've given scholarships to, and we were able to subsidize that with the money we earned from those who paid to come to the writing studio, so you need to clap them. They really deserve a good clap. So, so it gives me great pleasure to share the writers, the eminent writers we brought for the writing studio with our public today by launching Ingrid Persaud's new novel, latest novel, The Lost Loves of Boysie Singh, which will be followed by a series of readings by our 4 of our writers, and then a word from our publisher. So please enjoy the evening, everyone. Thank you. Diana and Ingrid.
As Diana and Ingrid come on stage, allow me to introduce them. So Ingrid Persaud was born in San Fernando, Trinidad, and left to study law at the London School of Economics, intending to return at the end of her studies. Decades later, she still talks about returning one day. Instead, she became an academic, teaching at King's College London, and was deputy director at their Center for European Law. In the late 90s, she moved to Boston, teaching international law at the Fletcher School of Law and diplomacy at Tufts University. 5 years later, after completing an art foundation course at the Slade School of Art, she decided to switch careers, taking a BA in Fine Art at Goldsmiths College, followed by a MA in Fine Art at Central St. Martin's. Clap her, you can clap her. Thank you, on behalf of Ingrid. For many years, Ingrid lived between Barbados and London, raising her family. It was during this time that she began writing her prize-winning debut novel, Love After Love. Give a clap for those of you who've read this book. Which is published by Faber and Faber in 2020, won the Costa First Novel Award and the Authors Club First Novel Award that year, and the Indie Book Award for Fiction in 2021. Her short story, The Sweet Sop, also won the BBC National Short Story Award in 2018 and the Commonwealth Short Story Prize in 2017. No. Agreed. The Lost Love Songs of Boysie Singh, published by Faber and Faber, is the book that will be launched here this evening, and we are very excited to hear her speak about that. So please give her a round of applause. And Ingrid will be in conversation with our very own Diana McCaulay, who is a Jamaican environmental activist and writer, and a lifelong resident of the capital city of Kingston. She has written 5 novels, Dog Heart, Hurricane, Gone to Drift, White Liver Gal, which she self-published, and Daylight Come. On 2 separate occasions, she has won the Commonwealth Short Story Prize for the Caribbean region, first in 2012 and again in 2022. Clapper. She was also awarded the Norman Washington Manley Award in 2021 for excellence for protection and preservation of the environment, and in 2022, she received a Gold Musgrave Medal for distinguished eminence in the field of literature by the Council of the Institute of Jamaica. Her forthcoming novel, A House for Miss Pauline, will be published by Dialogue Books in the UK and Algonquin Books in the US early next year. Just so you know, there will be a 20-minute Q&A session after. So during the conversation, if there are any things that you'd like to note, please hold them until the end of the session. And they'll be in conversation now.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for turning out. And now we're going to talk about the climate change, right? Because it's kind of hot. All right. I won't suffer you through that. But one day, we will do that. Daylight come. Heading to the convergence. Ingrid, welcome. Welcome to Jamaica. It's
Thank you.
Such a privilege for me to be sitting here with you. I have to tell you, I've done a lot of interviewing in my life, but usually of people that are mashing up the environment. And you are my first admired author. So I'm a little nervous, okay? But I loved your book. No, I didn't love your book. Let's be honest. Your book, I read it. It was powerful. I will think about it for years. I think you are unmatched in your ability to render the Caribbean speech on the page. And your characters, I will be thinking about them too for years. But as I'm sure you know, there are parts of it that I cannot say I loved with my heart, and we're going to talk about them. But congratulations. I think it's quite a stellar achievement, as I said to you when we were huddled in the car park.
Thank you, that's very kind. Please don't clap for everything, because...
I think they can clap.
No, man. Banning clapping.
You're banning, okay. So to start, I wanted to ask you to tell us a little bit about how this story came to you. I mean, I don't want to give away spoilers for you. The book is at the back. Please, guys, buy the book. But you're I can't say you're protagonist, but the person the story is about is a real person. So tell us how the story came to you.
So in a sense, there are no spoilers that we can give away because it's a real story. And you can find it, just really easily on the internet. So the Lost Love Songs of Boysie Singh looks at a real-life gangster, a Trini gangster who lived in the 1940s and 50s. And he was a mass murderer, a pimp, a gambling king, a preacher for a few years, just to spice things up. And
I use his life story to as a sort of running thread through the book, but he never gets a voice. The story's told through 4 narrators who are women in his life. So there's the baby mother, Manalala. There's Popo, a sex worker who he lived with for 6 years and attempted to end her life by grinding glass into a roti and force-feeding her, charming. And then there was Doris, his much-loved wife, the only woman he married. And then there is
Rosie.
Rosie. Thank you. Rosie, who is someone he liked and who he meets later in business. Can I just say, it's such a hot evening, and having to be hot and standing is terrible. So if you've just come in, please come and find a seat. It's no big deal.
So when you were young, in growing up in Trinidad, did you hear, I mean, you're younger than this time period, but did you hear stories of Boysie Singh?
So Boysie Singh was with me from childhood, and he was used as a tool of parental control.
Okay.
So if you didn't, eat your breakfast, Boysie Singh going to come and get you. You stay out late, Boysie Singh going to come and get you. So Boysie Singh was this overarching boogeyman of my childhood, and it wasn't particular to me. It wasn't that my parents were particularly stroppy. It was a general thing.
Right. And so what was it that drew you into really spending some time, not so much with him, but with the impact he had on those 4 women he was close to?
So I was asked to do a non-fiction piece in 2020 and 2021. And I'd not written any non-fiction if you discount Holsbury's Laws on Oil and Gas. Really creative stuff. And so I thought about, I kind of thought, he's somebody I've always wondered. And so I did research into his life and wrote the piece. But what struck me is the absence, the way myths are created, as if this man on his own, without any help or support system, did all the things that he did. And I began noticing in things that were written about Boysie Singh that there'd be this odd mention of a woman, so Popo, the sex worker, she got like one line in the main book that's written about Boysie by a journalist called Bickerton. And so I had to really kind of reconstruct these women from very little information.
Okay. So are you going to introduce us to
I'd love to.
One of those. Which woman are you going to?
So I'm going to read from the beginning of the novel. And I should say it's all fiction because one reviewer said that I had such brilliant sources to look at, including, these the newspapers that I quote from. And I should say that the book is bookended by 2 newspaper reports, which are entirely made up. And, for example, the staff reporter is the name of a dog that I like and his owners. So it's a little hard to read with. No, you don't need to hold it. It's a light. Okay. I'm good. Okay, so I'm going to read from the beginning of the book, and then I'm going to read the first chapter, which is written in Rosie's voice. Light come in. I could read it, Oh, good. Don't bring more light and more sweating and good. All right, just for the reading. All right. Okay. The Trinidad Monitor, Port of Spain, Trinidad, British West Indies, Friday, 23rd of August, 1957. The End of Boysie by Gerard Max Davidson, staff reporter. Knowing the end was coming, John Boysie Singh, the Raja, who once controlled illegal activities in Port of Spain and the Gulf of Paria, said, "I have lived. I have seen things and I have done things. Now I must go. But I am innocent of this crime. I always tried to help people, and that is how I got a great deal of my troubles. That is what have me here now." He asked to go first, but on 20th August 1957 was made to wait an hour until 8 o'clock after Bolan Ramkissoon's body was cut down and laid aside. A Catholic priest, Father Tiernan, who asked for his name not to be reported, walked him to the gallows. Wearing prison-issue white cotton pajamas, the Raja met death chanting, "My Jesus mercy, my Jesus mercy, my Jesus mercy." As prescribed, the hangman was paid $77 per man for his duties. A Gregorio Brothers van took the body from the jail to the General Hospital and then to St. James Cemetery, where Boysie was laid to rest in a crude white pine, unpainted coffin, his name written on top in chalk. None of his close relatives, seen visiting the condemned man in the days leading up to the hanging, were present at the graveside. Rosie. While the shop ain't busy, I tell myself, "Rosie girl, drink a cup of coffee tea and check the papers. Nobody's coming for a shot of rum this hour, and on the dry goods side is always one person throughout the day." I ain't sit down good when I spotted the wretch. Man dead and he's still making front page. And look at that, Boysie playing innocent down to the end. Exactly who that badge on think he fooling? At least now he's in the ground, we might get an ease from seeing him all the time. Something else will take over the news. Every night the Lord's seen me on my knees begging that boy doesn't fill the gap he's left. They say goat don't make sheep. Well, this is one time I hope they're wrong, yes? A sudden hard rain made me put down the papers. 2 school children, a girl about 7 and a boy child a little younger, rushed to shelter under the shop awning. The way she held on to the boy, I could tell she was a good big sister. I called to them, "Come inside and don't get wet. You see how the sun's still shining? Rain go past now for now." They came and stood by the door. I smiled. Come in, I don't bite." The girl pulled her brother where they were safe from the pelting rain. You know that when sun's shining and rain falling, monkey does be marrying. Either that or the devil and his wife fighting. Poor children looked at me like I was ready to gobble them up. A good 5 minutes hadn't passed and the rain stopped just so. The 2 bolted. I watched them speed off, holding hands tight. Steam rose from the hot pitch, releasing a sickly sweet smell that made me feel slightly nauseous. Then something happened. Maybe it was the pitch smell, or the little boy and girl holding hands, or just reading the death notice. Could be all three. Suddenly I realized what had been bothering my head. I was thinking of Boysie. What's that game children play? The one with 2 circles, holding hands and singing in turns? Oh, yes. In a fine castle, do you hear my CCO? In a fine castle, do you hear my CCO? Without missing a beat, the second circle would reply. Ours is the prettiest, do you hear my CCO? Ours is the prettiest, do you hear my CCO? What song did we throw back? Oh, yes. We want one of them, do you hear my CCO? We want one of them, do you hear my CCO? From the side, under a laden guava tree, a boy, had to be less than 10, was watching us playing in the road. Our eyes made 4. Without words, he knew that we coolie orphans, holding hands while singing louder and louder, had room for other unclaimed children. Which of us do you want? Do you hear my CCO? I broke hands mid-song so he could join my circle. He came forward slowly and gave me his hand. That little hand squeezed mine just a bit tighter than the others. I squeezed back. Which of us do you want? Do you hear my CCO? A scared boy, out on the road by himself, nobody looking to see what he was doing. That barefoot, raggedy child grew into John Boysie Singh, the Raja. How'd that happen?
We'll allow some clapping now.
Maybe we could just take this.
I must tell you, I thought that the ad in the beginning and the story at the end were real.
Good.
Yeah, I looked for them. I know there's something wrong with the Google search, but yeah. So, as I said, my first sort of reaction to your book, I think you're a real master at rendering the Trinidadian voice on the page. And for me, what was just so impressive about these 4 women is you have these 4 women, their 4 voices, they're very, very different. And the way they speak is different in appreciable but such subtle ways. And all the time I was reading, I could hear their voices in my head, and I can still hear them. And I'm just so in awe of doing that. What do you say to those of us who struggle more with that? You know, actually getting the voice in your head onto the page, or young writers trying to do that. How do you approach something like that? Coming up with these 4 voices that are the same in a way, because they come from the same place, but they're so different as well.
So I don't know if I have anything to offer in terms of what you can do to get a character feeling like that on the page, except that you keep working at it until it feels right. But what was particular about this book and the language is that the 2 of the characters are 3 more or less, but 2 of them in particular were of East Indian origin and would have used some of the Bhojpuri dialect that came with the indentured laborers. And so that was a lot of fun to research, because what I couldn't go to the sort of internet dictionary of Bhojpuri in 2024 and expect to find the words that Trini Indians were using, because our language arrived in the 19th century and stayed in the 19th century. So it's ossified in a particular moment. So the words that we use, the particular spellings, or meanings, I had to do a lot of research, and that's oral research, finding people who still use the language. And the book's a little bit rude, so there are quite a few curse words and naughty bits. And the main people who use the language are older people. So I would ask, how do you say the F word in Bhojpuri? And they said, "Ooh, we don't have the F word." And I said, you do have the F word, And I kept pushing, and where's the C word? And they're like, "Oh, no, we don't do that." And I was like, "Yes, you do. And so it was a real process of kind of wearing down my sources until they're finally, by the end, they're cursing me in Bhojpuri for asking, So that was being specific and trying to get the detail right.
I learned a whole new vocabulary. So
did I.
Yeah. and like you say, you can't exactly just Google it and, this is what that means. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your own writing journey. Was it a long ago ambition for you? And I know you're an attorney, a lawyer, so you had a different trajectory. Tell us how that happened.
So some of the people in the audience, quite a lot of you know me already, so forgive me for having to repeat this, but I'm from a lower middle class, very ordinary family in Trinidad, and so you know what my options were, right? Lawyer, doctor, failure. So I chose law because I was better at that than sciences, and I very soon discovered that law wasn't where my heart was, but university was. So I just stayed and did lots of degrees, and if you do lots of degrees, they give you a job eventually, and so I became an academic, and then I took a sabbatical. I'm doing a really truncated version, but don't ask me why, but I had 6 months of my life where I could do anything, and I went and showed up and got into art foundation course, and my art teacher from high school, I met her recently, and she was appalled at the idea that I had actually got a degree in art, because her recollection was that I had no visible talent. And just to back that up, she was able to refer to my... she actually had my student report. I mean, what kind of evil person does that? But anyway, so I did, so I got through this foundation course and found myself saying I want to do art, so I went off and did a couple degrees in fine art. You get the drift. I like going to university, and so I did that, and then I got a bit of teaching there, and I was on a roll, right? I was back in university. I was just happy. And then I suppose one could call him the baby father. So the baby father decided that the children were not to be brought up in London, but we should move to Barbados, where we had links, to raise these twin boys. So I went off to Barbados, and I couldn't find my tribe. I would today, but back then, being in the mid-2000s, to be an artist in Barbados was to be a painter, and to be a painter of large-scale paintings, and to be a painter of large-scale, colourful paintings. I had no skill as a painter, and I was not a joyful person who could paint anything brightly coloured. So that was me. I had no tribe, and said baby father said that, why don't I try writing a novel? And I said, fuck you. I mean, who tells someone, occupy yourself by writing a novel? Anyway, so he gets the last laugh in many ways, but that's besides the point. What I did do instead of writing a novel was to do a blog. And I did a blog for 3 years, writing about living in Barbados. And I think that was my apprenticeship. And then it was in Jamaica that I thought about writing a short story. I was at Calabash, and the shortlisted people for the Commonwealth Short Story Prize, all the regional winners, were there, and they read from their stories. And I thought, man, I could do that too. Them doing it, I could do it. And so I wrote a story, and then I won the literary lottery, because it is a lottery. There's so much luck involved.
Yeah, she went like this. Wow. Yeah. So after that, the Sweet Top won both the Commonwealth Prize and the BBC Short Story Award, and I guess people started calling you and said, do you have a novel, right?
So the BBC puts a lot of PR into, and it's their kind of flagship award in writing. And so the second I won it, people started queuing up, wanting to know who my agent was. And I did the poor me from an island, no one would ever look at me. I have no agent. And I got a queue of people handing me their cards. And I did what any of you would do, which is I created a spreadsheet, and I interviewed them all, and I chose one. And my best moment was when an agent wrote to me and asked if they could get some feedback as to why I'd rejected them. But yes, one for the team. That beat the letter I got as a graduate when I applied for banking. Don't ask me why I applied for a job in banking. And I got a reply from the bank saying, we do not have a job for someone with your qualifications, and we will never have a job for someone with your qualifications. So it's a bit like that. And so anyway, so that's how I ended up being a writer, being a published writer.
That's a great story. So go back to your book a little bit. On the women themselves, and their lives and their choices. Reading it, I found it to have such resonance for us here in Jamaica, and perhaps throughout the wider Caribbean, but this is where I have lived my life. And it's a difficult thing to talk about, the indirect involvement of women in the crimes of men. And we have a saying here about washing the bloody clothes, And I thought about that a lot, reading about the lives of the women. I mean, you did this kind of magic trick where they were both very unfairly treated, and there was a lot of, violence and bad behavior and cruelty towards them. But you also did this magic trick that they had agency in their lives, and they made choices. They made the best choices they could in those circumstances. That's how I received the stories of the women. But I wonder if you have bigger thoughts about that issue, about women supporting men that we know are committing horrendous crimes.
So I think one of the most difficult bits of writing the book was to not give the women more agency than they would have had. Their choices were alien to me and would be alien to women today. So that was really hard, to have compassion and empathy when you're writing a character, knowing that your choices would be very, very different from theirs. Do I have anything to say on women in general? And So listen, whenever a man do something, there's a woman behind who doing more. And that was kind of where I was at with it. That there were women who they benefited from his criminal activities, but they weren't necessarily supporting him as Boysie as criminal. They wanted Boysie the lover, Boysie the father,
Provider.
So the provider. There was a lot of, they were curtailed by economic and social conditions. And so poverty was, the reason that a lot of the choices probably were made. But I try not to make them, shouldn't feel sorry for them.
I didn't.
Right.
No, I didn't feel sorry for them, no. Because I did feel the strength of their character in these absolutely awful circumstances that you described. But I actually wondered how much, you're writing about the 50s and 60s, and actually wondered how much has changed.
So it's the 40s and 50s, and the worst part of it is that gender violence remains a huge topic. And so, change the characters, change the circumstances a little bit, and the issues are still very much there, present.
Yeah. So even though it was not this time, it just seemed to have this real relevance for the challenges that we're still facing today.
Yes.
So as you said in your introduction, you start the book with what I now know is a fictional story with the name of a dog in it, but you also end with what I assumed was the real story of his execution, and I was very interested in those last chapters where he turned to religion, and he became a preacher. And I want to ask you about this something that we see playing out in many countries in the world, not just in the Caribbean, not just our tendencies for the bad John, the bad boy, where we rally to these charismatic leaders, we absolve them of their missteps and their crimes,
but that's universal.
I think it's universal. We'll accept them as religious leaders, and then we'll turn on them in the end. So in a way, you are telling this very universal story as well.
I think so. I think, Boysie was very charismatic, which is why he was able to continue for as long as he did. And, using religion is just, something out of a very ordinary playbook to have brought up. But there was something else in your question that I found really interesting, and now it's gone. It's the heat. I'll blame the heat. But it was about absolving men.
From small things and big things.
Is it something about human nature and our how we interact with power? And so in all the relationships I was describing in the book, I was very acutely aware of what power dynamic was being played out, and whose understanding of human nature and power was more accurate, kind of came out on top each time.
Right, yeah. So this is my last on my little pieces of paper. So I did preparation, right? So your book, it delves into a range of religious, spiritual, folk healing, the supernatural in some cases. I absolutely love the snake. And I think that's such a feature of our societies as well. And I wonder if you come down on the side of religion as a positive thing or something darker.
So I'm an atheist, which means I look at everyone's religion and I take whatever I want out of it. I enjoy Christmas, Eid, Diwali, anybody serving food, I'm there. But what I try to do in the book is to celebrate our different religious forms and our different belief systems. I try not to create hierarchies. I did do one thing which I'm really proud of, which is, so I found this myth in East Indian kind of religion about a creature called the sapin. And this sapin, the writing about her is very judgmental. It says, she was a bad woman. And this bad woman could turn into a snake and, bite you. And would you believe she could have up to 7 lovers? And I was like, yeah. So I was like, she is going to have a good time in this book. And nobody's going to be able to judge her. And so I kind of, I try to redeem this myth and to take away the judgment that was surrounding it. So it's a little bit of license, but...
Yeah, she was my favorite. Actually, I have one more question.
All right.
It's about trauma. It's about writing about trauma. And if your subject is the Caribbean, there's a lot of trauma sort of swirling around. And one of the things I admired about this book, but yeah, the ice and the roti, I will never stop thinking about. I will never stop thinking about that. Not the ice, the glass and the roti. I will never stop thinking about that. So there is trauma in this book. There is cruelty. There is brutality. But there's also that celebration that you talked about. That celebration of the aspects of our lives that are so rich and so vibrant. So we have a lot of young writers here. How do you tell the stories that are true about our societies, don't turn away from the difficult parts, while at the same time celebrating everything that it means to be a Caribbean person? But no pressure.
I think it depends on where you write from. If you write from a place of openness and curiosity and love, I love where I'm from. I love our society, our region. I don't think that we do anything worse than anyone else. Someone asked me about, our Trinidadian men, they seem to be terribly violent. And I was like, look at your own statistics before you talk to me about Trinidadian men being more violent than others, which was a little bit of a, that was probably not so right given our crime statistics, but she didn't have those at hand. But I think being compassionate, I think that's a key, and being open-hearted. Yeah. That's all I try to be.
Yeah, and starting from love too. I like that.
Starting from love.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. Ingrid Persaud. The book is on sale at the back. And do you have questions?
So we have 20 minutes of Q&A. I'm just going to ask that you raise your hands if you have any questions. We have 2 mics, this one on this side, and there's a mic on that side as well. So G.
Ingrid, I imagine that, although I haven't read the book, of course, that it may be useful for women to learn about those women and their choices. But did it ever cross your mind when you were writing that, boy, this might raise Boysie to more hero status than he had already?
Great question. I'll leave it to you to decide when you've read it if I have romanticized Boysie or not. I hope I haven't. I hope I haven't made him into a hero. The only heroes I've written about are the women who survive him, as far as I'm concerned. And so I hope I haven't done that.
Next question. Congratulations, I hope it becomes a bestseller.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Boysie Singh, is he a Caribbean man? Could he fit into Montego Bay or Port of Spain quite easily?
Well, he was real. He was absolutely real. He was a second generation East Indian, came over, and he lived in Port of Spain, and he did the things that he did. He lived an amazing life. He was tried for murder 3 times, executed for one that he probably didn't commit, got off from one that he probably did do. So no, he's very real. He's very real.
And the B part is, I noticed Boysie had a kind of religious background, or did he attend church or the synagogue? Was he spending time with the Mother Union and the Brotherhood, or was he really attending the synagogue?
Okay, so you'd think that an Indian would be following the Hindu faith, right? He didn't. Boysie was a Port of Spain Indian. He went to school with people. He was a minority, and he never saw himself as an Indian necessarily. And when he met Doris was a Catholic, and she introduced him to the Catholic religion, and he quite liked that. He liked it so much that the night before he was executed, he was baptized a Catholic. So he took to Christianity more than any other religion, and he took to, fancy Christianity as well.
Are there any other questions?
Hello. I haven't read your book, but I'm not sure if you know of this book called The Five, which is also written by a woman. It's about the 5 women who were killed by Jack the Ripper. In other words, the parallel that I see is that now we're starting to tell the stories of the women who are affected by these violent men, as opposed to glamorizing the men themselves, because Jack the Ripper is quite famous. So my question essentially is, do you think that this idea of telling the women's stories now instead of glamorizing these men is something that is going to happen more frequently? The reason why I ask is just because yours is the second book that I've heard of, which now tells the story of women rather than the violent men.
I think there are quite a few books that have been published, particularly just in the last maybe 5 years, that are unearthing women's versions of historical myths or real-life stories. So I think, yes, the book does fit into that that sort of narrative that's taking place of excavating the women's stories. I don't make any apology for that. I think the victors always tell the stories. It's time someone else.
Are there any other questions?
I think
yes.
Hi, Ingrid. Congratulations. Hi, Diana. Can you talk about your writing practice, like on a daily basis? Where do you sit, if you sit? Do you take walks? What do you do beforehand? Do you wash the dishes and avoid it? Like, could you kind of lean into that a little bit for me, please?
So I think, behind questions like that is always the idea of alchemy, that there is something special that happens with people who are writing, and I don't really ascribe to that. I just think you sit your ass down wherever you feel comfortable and you write, and you just get on with it. I have no particular rituals. I write, my kids are kind of grown, and the baby father is gone his way. And so I have an awful lot of time to write. And I just write all the time. Got my laptop on my bed. I'd like to say I had a routine. I don't have a routine. I just write. And eat cheese sandwiches. And fail to exercise or keep a good work-life balance.
Hi, Ingrid. And Dana. I'm curious, when you write then, wherever you write, and you're writing about the four women, do you write them sequentially? I'm going to write about this person first. I haven't read your books, so I don't know their names. Or do you just randomly, continue a story that you started? Do you switch between them, or do you finish the entire story on one first and then move to another?
I think it depends on what I'm writing about them. So when I'm writing something that's particularly difficult, like someone being killed or someone, experiencing something difficult, I kind of stick with that person's story and I write it because I can't come out of the space. And in fact, it turned out that I did write a lot of it sequentially, and then I had to kind of go back and weave it and get rid of a lot of the things that I had written and edit it down to make it, a story. But sometimes just to get a feel for the character, yes, I do kind of deep dive into one person at a time.
Hi, I just wanted to know, you talked about a lot of...
Sorry, where are you?
Oh, hey, sorry. Right in front of you.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to know, you talked about your research and a lot of oral histories that you gathered to write this story. I just wanted to know if you experienced, something that I call a research block, because when I make art, I do a lot of research beforehand, and sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, kind of in your head about it, and how do you navigate deciding what you want to keep that is quote unquote factual and then elaborate on, etc.?
So the notion of doing research for fiction, I don't really understand that. I just read a lot, and by reading lots and lots of different people, you solve the problems that are at hand. Or there's something specific I have to research, how long was his trial? What was said? Who did what? Where? I don't know about researcher's block. I don't doubt it's a real thing for some people, but maybe because I came to writing later in life, I don't have the luxury of a block. I have to just get on with the thing. And so if something is difficult, just move on to something else, come back. And you trust the process. You trust that somewhere in your head you are problem solving. It just isn't apparent necessarily.
Anthony Winkler said, trust the darkness.
Hi, Ingrid. Congratulations. Here, over here. Here.
Oh, so the light is completely...
Yes, I'm right in front of the light. I apologize.
Yeah, okay.
You spoke about writing with compassion, and I think writing a novel...
I can't see you, so...
I'll stand up for you.
a very violent scene where Boysie is, you know, it's kind of sexual violence, and it was my Quentin Tarantino moment. You know, I was like, this is how I want my book to start. And my editor very, you know, wisely said it was too much. You have to take a beat. You have to think about it. And so it took me a long, long time to find the compassion to write that bit. So that was it. Yeah?
Final question.
Good night. So I'm curious, did you, in your editing and writing of the book, were there other women whose stories didn't get included? Did you always decide on these 4, or were there more that got chopped in the end? Oh, and how long did it take you to write?
It took me, like, you know, from moment of conception to copy edit, 2 years. But there are other women. No, I that's the thing. The narrative doesn't have women, you know, so you're kind of pulling on threads. So the only mention of a wife comes from knowing that when Boysie had to pay the lawyers for his many trials, he wanted to sell the family home. And it is in trying to sell the family home that the deed comes out and shows that Doris, his wife, owned half the property. That's how we know he had a wife called Doris. And you know, so that it wasn't like I had a plethora of women to choose from. Rosie is pretty much all invented. There was one line I read about him having a girlfriend who came from the orphanage for coolie children, the orphanage and asylum for coolie children. Well, I had to go and find out what the orphanage for coolie children was, and so I got a character out of that, you know. So that's how I had to pull the characters out of the myth, because the myth has been just about this one man, as if he existed in isolation. I answered that already, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your questions. Please give it up for Diana McCaulay and Ingrid Persaud. We're now going to a 10-minute break. I just want to remind you that there is a bar behind you. Books are for sale. The Lost Loves of Boysie Singh. Books are for sale behind you. I'm sure Ingrid would be more than happy to sign books at the appropriate time. We're going to turn the lights back on in the galleries. You can view Dubbing 62, Side A, Babylon+Zion, and we will be back for the readings in about 10 minutes. Thank you.
No fury like a lover's gone. It make you wish you were never born. Oh, yeah. Ain't no fury like baby. Make you wish you baby. Ain't no fury like a lover's gone. Hey. You were never born. You're stepping out on your own. Got a heart made of stone. Such a cold, cold girl. What will my story be? Is there a future for me inside your cold, cold world? Hey. Well, I heard, but I could not believe it. You were out all night on the town. I would call your phone, home alone. You were nowhere around. I would wait like a child on his birthday. All of my waiting was in vain. Broke my heart, baby. The day you're gone, left me. And if you never needed my love, why didn't you say so? Oh, hey. And if you weren't a backbiters, hypocritical, two-sideless. We call them modern day Judas, the spreaders of rumors. Oh, them a backbiters, hypocritical, two-sideless. We call them modern day Judas, spreaders of rumors. Hey, hey, so why should I be afraid of you when you bleed just like I do? The more you try fight, judge a light keeps shining through. So I've got no time for you, cause in my view you wanna step in on my shoe. You wish you never leave a loo and feel so damn confused. How every day you wake you ache because you know you're fake, and every step you take I bring you closer to your grave. But I am like a column when I easily shake. Me certain say I feel me none of who can't take. We guided by the monster, defender of the faith. Yes, ordained to be great. Oh, them a backbiters, hypocritical, two-sideless. We call them modern day Judas, the spreaders of rumors. Oh, them a backbiters, hypocritical, two-sideless. We call them modern day Judas, spreaders of
a man who stands firm in his own continental. I descended upon the mountain of Zion. I saw is the lion. The world shall know. So great is him, I know how great is the King of all kings, yes. So great is him, I know great is the King of all kings, yes. Giver of life, for black, for white, for red, green, and gold. Ethiopia stands bold, while Marcus I prophecy is unfold. Yes, never you wait, for the time is now. Can't wait till judgment come. Tomorrow never forward. Tomorrow never forward. No, 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 no. In my Father's house there are many mansions, and if it wasn't so, then I wouldn't say so. No, 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 no. Yes, the Father is the King of all kings, who lives and reigns forevermore.
Chronics, left and right, the soldiers are come, left and right. Ooh, yeah. Ah, boy. And them say, here comes trouble, here comes the danger, sent by the Savior, welcome the Rasta youths. I start recruit, soldiers for Selassie army. Aye. Here comes trouble, here comes the danger, welcome the Savior, welcome the Rasta youths. You know fi ask is who, at the general issue in a warning. Job people them a ball, said them tired of mediocre. Evil a go fall when we tried in Ethiopia. Me leaving from down, cause them life no easy boat ya. Even Bantan said it's not an easy road. Operation occupy the motherland, calling all soldiers to kindly tread along. From creation, he writing a job plan, but Chronics can't do it alone. So I'm recruiting soldiers coming from near and far. I choose executing Selassie works and be Rastafari true. And them say here comes trouble, here comes the danger, sent by the Savior, welcome the Rasta youths. I'm gonna start recruit soldiers for Selassie army.
Who them a program? I me say who them a young girl of them iPhone. Who them a program? Who in pharmacy down on a spy band? I coulda who them a program? I me say who Miss a Babylon of them iPhone. Who them a program? Who in pharmacy down on a spy band? Is a brand new prince on the scene. I move with me 2 footprints that I made. See him when you see him, general for the team. This a rain, you come in, draw for your gabardine. Them a look and a watch like live stream. And the skunk purple like Ribena me. Them a dream like Arlene. About king, them boy they a queen like Arlene. Hey, nobody tell me say me can't. 5, 6, 7, 8 drop in a me part. Hey, warrior in a me heart, philosophic in a mind, I deliver you the art. Who them a program? I me say who them a young girl of them iPhone. Who them a program? Who in pharmacy down on a spy band? I coulda who them a program? I me say who me terrorists a Babylon of them iPhone. Who them a program? Who in pharmacy down on a spy phone? Me nah watch no face, make it do what it do. From the first time when no man's a po. Cause them no want to see you in the cope. I go through them, we call Babylon and stay a trope for you. Then them come with them warrant, kick off door or run in a you apartment. Whoa, yeah. The fire wa go stalling, ja when them falling, can say we never want them, no. Hey, cause them power couldn't real. Try all them want and them couldn't crack a seal. Hey, who not hear them I go feel. I see and me shield, so they couldn't stop a meal. Who them a program? I me say who them a young girl of where you say who them a program? Who in pharmacy down on a spy phone?
I just go where the trade wind blows, sending love to my friends and foes, and that's a pose.
And it's a protege, eh? Chronics are where you say, eh?
Okay. Who knows? I just go where the trade wind blows, sending love to my friends and foes, and I suppose I'm pleased to be chilling in the West Indies. To provide all my wants and needs. I got the sunshine, rivers and trees.
When me see Jah, me see a way. Drastically straight from hypocrisy, I say, hey. Every man to them own a philosophy. I live the proper way and then me read a chapter daily. Man, they in a city hungry and no eat. And food they down a country just a drop off of the tree them. You see, say poverty no real then. Is what the reason revealing.
Who knows? I just go where the trade wind blows, sending love to my friends and foes, and that's a pose.
Me now watch no face, beg no more pardon. Enough drugs, money they a carry. Now watch no face, beg no more pardon. Enough drugs, money they a carry garden. Enough individual society applauding. You can ask anybody where them get them starting. But no politician take a donation. So no criminal will never see a station. Never see a cell, not even a courthouse. But every Sunday we see them take a boat out.
The segment in PREE Writing Studio event number 1. We want to thank you for staying with us. We know we're a bit behind schedule, but we're going to proceed right now. I'm going to introduce our authors, and I'm going to ask that as you are introduced, that you join me on stage to my left, asking that both galleries be closed, asking that everyone resume their seating positions. I spy our first author, Leone Ross. Leone Ross is a novelist, short story writer, and editor. Her fiction has been nominated for the Women's Prize, the Goldsmiths Award, the RSL Ondajte Award, and the Edgehill Prize, among others. In 2022, keep it going, you can clap her, clap her. In 2022, she won the Manchester Prize for fiction for her short story, When We Went Gallivanting. The Guardian has praised her, and I quote, searing empathy, and the Times Literary Supplement called her a, and I quote again, a pointillist, a master of detail, end quote. Yes, clapper. Leone has taught creative writing for 20 years up to PhD level, and her third novel, This One Sky Day, also published as Poppy Show, was published in 2021 by Faber & Faber. She's the editor of Glimpse, a Black British anthology of speculative fiction. Please make her feel welcome. Shivanee, are you here? Shivanee? Please join us on stage. Shivanee Ramlochan is a Trinidadian writer. Her debut, Everyone Knows I Am a Haunting, in 2017, was shortlisted for a 2018 Forward Prize for Poetry. You can clap her. Recently, her poems have been anthologized in 100 Queer Poems by Faber & Faber, After Sylvia, Poems and Essays in Celebration of Sylvia Plath, Across Borders, an anthology of new poetry from the Commonwealth, Bi-Plus Lines, an anthology of contemporary Bi-Plus poems. Shivanee was also a 2019 John Ciardi Poetry Fellow at Breadloaf Writers Conference, a 2019 Millet Arts Poetry Alumna, and a 2020 Catapult Arts Residency Awardee. Feel free to clap her. She's currently translation selector for the Poetry Book Society and has worked in Caribbean literary development for 13 years. The Spanish edition of Everyone Knows I'm a Haunting, I will not pronounce it, is in development, and Shivanee's second book, Unkillable, on Indo-Caribbean women's disobedience, is forthcoming. Please make her welcome. And I know our third author is here. I've seen him earlier, Ishion Hutchinson. Please join us on stage, and feel free to clap him as he makes his way. Ishion was born in Port Antonio, Jamaica. He is the author of the poetry collections Far District, winner of the Penn Joyce Osterweil Award for Poetry, House of Lords and Commons, which received the National Book Critics Circle Award in Poetry, and School of Instructions, a poem, a finalist for the T.S. Eliot Prize for Poetry and the Griffin Poetry Prize. And his book, School of Instructions, is actually available for sale, right, Ishion, right here this evening. He's a recipient of a Guggenheim Fellowship, the Joseph Brodsky Rome Prize in Literature, the Whiting Award, and a Donald Wyndham Sandy M. Campbell Literature Prize, among other awards, including the Guggenheim Fellowship, Civitella Award, and there's so many. And I want to just skip to the part where I say he's a founding member of the Global Black Initiative, and he's currently the W.E.B. Du Bois Professor in Humanities at Cornell University. Please make him welcome. And then last, but by no means least, is Kei Miller. Kei, please join us on stage. Kei Miller is a Jamaican poet who has been making an international furore on the poetry scene since his first collection, Kingdom of Empty Bellies, which was published in 2006. Since then, he has moved into fiction and essay writing. His collections and novels have won numerous awards, up to and including his most recent essay collection, Things I Have Withheld. Clap if you've read that book. Somebody said so many times. He writes in a highly original and clever way about a variety of social issues and does not shy away from taboos in them. As one review describes his work is, quote, daring, unforgettable. He moves from cozy to tragic to sublime in a single line, end quote. He knows how to put into words the feeling of alienation like no other. Among other things, Kei is known for mixing English with patois in his work, which produces beautiful poems, such as the poem Place Name from the collection The Cartographer Tries to Map a Way to Zion. That collection won the Forward Prize for Best Collection of Poetry. In 2010, he received the Silver Musgrave Medal from the Institute of Jamaica for his contribution to literature. In addition to being a writer, he's also a lecturer and has taught at the University of Glasgow, Royal Holloway, and others, and he's currently a professor at the University of Miami. Please make him welcome.
And then, yeah. Good night, good night. I haven't said good night to anyone in 14 years. I've been gone a long time. Thank you very much for being here. So, I'm going to start off the readings this evening with this hallowed company I'm in. I'm going to read from my novel, This One Sky Day. Some of the section, I'm going to read two sections that are connected to each other. And most of what I'm going to read is self-explanatory, but I'll give a small context. Just think a boy, a girl, love. Their names are Dandu and Santine, and they know very little about sex. Regardless of the fact that they know very little, they've just been in the company of Santine's first orgasm. And then, for those of you who don't know that this happens in the book, her genitalia falls away from her body. In some ways, I like to think about This One Sky Day as written for Anthony C. Winkler, whose name has already been called here as the king of Jamaican mischief. So this is to respect Winkler, who I think would have approved. This was why his father had made him swear to respect her. Don't force her, frighten her, Dando. Treat her like a lady. Is my friend child. But how could he have guessed his disobedience would have such disastrous penalty? He'd never heard tell of such a thing. After all, her bosom was still intact after months of play. Oh, we shouldn't have, moaned Santine. Look at what I gone and do now, oh gods. Such a pretty, soft thing nestled between a pile of papers and a broken lamp from the days his mother collected them. He reached out to stroke the pom-pom hesitantly. Well, he couldn't let her down. I'm going to stay with you forever, you know that, right? Said Dandu. But what we're going to do about children? Wailed Santine, sounding not unlike her mother. She hadn't taken her eyes off the pom-pom since it came free. There's plenty of children around, said Dandu. He wasn't sure what he was saying, but something had to be said. We're going to find one of them. He tried to soothe her. She insisted he keep it. She couldn't bear taking it with her. The thought made her teeth chatter. What if she dropped it out a road? What if someone stole it? What safe place could she store it with her ridiculously prying mother and all the overcleaning in her house? There was a maid that was a spy, she was sure of it. Dandu held her hands and made her recite the names of flowers until she calmed down. He promised to keep the pom-pom in a safe place. They would keep the terrible secret between them. They could take it out and look at it if they wanted and think of a different life they could have had. He didn't say it, but his mind was working. Perhaps if he could find someone to help to examine the precious thing, they might fix it. But who could be trusted with the pom-pom of the governor's daughter? They stole down from the attic and he sent her back through the window because time was getting on, and if they were found up there with the pom-pom out, oh, it would make everything so much worse. He should have known he couldn't handle this sex business. It was a sin and a shame, his abject ignorance. God's mama going to know, moaned Santine as she climbed over the windowsill. She was cupping her skirts into her pelvis like she was holding things together. She always know when I do something stupid. Dandu snorted and kissed her goodbye. He was not fond of his coming mother-in-law. Sorry, guys. Her mother had been hot at her as soon as she walked back into the house. There was no right way to lie about something this important. Where were you in that horrible moment? Demanded her mother. It was only when Mrs. Intisar tried to lift Santine's hem that she realized she wasn't the only one who'd had an accident and that none of it was Dandu's fault. Her mother said the maid cleaning the gazebo squeaked when hers fell out, and that the young wife one door down who was sitting down in our garden taking lemonade said bloodfire. She'd had more presence of mind than anyone around her, shot straight up to the house calling for someone to find Santine, flinging her own situation into her purse for safekeeping. Then she'd remembered her girl child wasn't home. Where is your it that? She sputtered. So then Santine did have to tell. Her mother screwed her eyes very tight and held her head in her hands in a way that Santine thought ever so melodramatic, but she was used to her mother getting everything wrong. Imagine if she acted so dramatically when she didn't get what she wanted, which was a reasonable mother. The governor have to hear about this. Her mother had an irritating way of referring to her own husband and the father of her children by his title. You mean Papa? Said Santine. You know you're very out of order, Santine ignoble. Mama went pounding at her father's office door, which was the one thing her generally sanguine father could not abide. At first he said he really didn't want to hear all of this woman business. But when more was explained, he strode out of the office, literally struggling for breath. In the midst of the yelling, Santine had given as good as she got. After all, it was she who climbed into Dandu's bedroom, she who let him look between our legs, and how was it his fault that the blasted thing off a fall out right that minute, especially now she knew it wasn't just her it happened to. Tell that boy you're coming back to get your jewel, her father bellowed. Despite her clear explanation that she felt best with Dandu keeping it and that calling it a jewel was stupid, her father looked like he was contemplating a stroke. She felt sorry for him, so she stalked over to the phone, feeling self-righteous. Until Dandu told her about the river. His teeth were chattering. You lost it, said Santine. She could feel her mother fluttering spasmodically like a hen before death. It slipped, stuttered Dandu. So now I'll go and kill you, said Santine. The governor's first idea after that revelation was typical. He wanted to send out very many men beating bushes and lifting up stones and invading houses. Santine glared, review this, Papa. You're going to send out hundreds of men to look for my pum-pum? What make you sure you think that is a good idea? Which ended that stupid matter. How you could trust a crabbe with something so precious, yelled her father. He got very angry indeed when he couldn't solve things with money. She'd seen the safe in his office, stuffed with coins it was, and he never seemed to run out. There were neat bags stacked on the shelf, the perfect size for a bribe. He is not a crabbe, she yelled back, even though she had never been angrier with a human being than she was with Dandu right now. He's going to be my husband tomorrow, and if you and Mama want any grandchildren, you better try come up with something fast, because I don't have a pom-pom. Then she locked herself in her room and called Dandu back and asked him what he was really thinking, taking her underneath for a walk like it was a bunch of rascalot bananas. Thank you.
At various points in my life, starting when I was about 8, and continuing most recently into my, let's call them mid-30s, I've been accused in one way or another of being a witch. And while I have great familiarity and affection for black cats, they've never revealed their secrets to me. A broom has never really been anything more than a domestic object. And if I did have powers of flight, I'd probably use them for nefarious mango hunting purposes. That said, and perhaps despite all of that, when the redoubtable Jamaican poetess Sophia Sinclair asked me for a poem about 2 years ago for the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day feature, I knew I would write about witches.
So I owe the heart, meat, and liver spleen of this poem to Sophia, and I read it tonight here in her home country. One thing the Academy asks you to do is to describe the poem. They put it on their website. This is rare for me, as I like to let the poems do their own rude work. But in this case, we have a description. I'll share it, then I'll read the poem. I wrote Witch Hindu as a way to strive to be more solidly in the world. Archetypes of powerful women have always been important to my survival, and I needed to create a space in my mind and heart where the strongest woman I know also looked and sounded like a direct foremother of my Indo-Caribbean ancestry. I carry all the women who've birthed, labored, and persisted in my family line within me, and I want always to do them proud. To use my poems to say, this is how we've survived the worst things done to us. Witch Hindu. Curry, nipple, shrapnel, bindi, lassi, whiplash, linga, language, rum-proof, cane field, erotic indenture, henna, pregnancy, golden roti, chocolate kajal, pagan burial, choke me kindly in these archives. Camphor, moth bites, grandmother's saris, drowning dowry, wield the mace and master me. This is not a burning. These are not white spells. Which Hindu walks everywhere on blue-throated feet, scattering febrile cockheads, emptying all bad seed? Which Hindu knows your atmosphere, can taste it in the charnel house, your kind raped, my kind adjacent to, without a single prayer for the irradiated skin? Oh, which Hindu promises you will not be able to think of sorries in the land where reparations are drawn first from the battlements of your thighs? Oh, descendants of sailors and minstrels, of thanes and thieves and kin, who walk upright and never permit their girlfriends to come. Which Hindu has a ceremony for you under the cutlass of her tongue, gathering all the hymens of indenture in her forearms as ribboning hurricanes, glowering, pregnant, growing Darjeeling and Lannet and rum? Mortuary, deer, guillotine, coal, grandfather's cutlass, hidden beef, halogenic bone shards, India disgorged. These archives kindly choke in me. Consummation dagger, turban death mask, holy porn shop, hunted bride, translucent elephant, trampling down. These are not white burnings. This is not your spell. Who's been to Trinidad Carnival? I think they know Kei there personally by name. I had to fight myself quite a bit to include this poem in my book because it, as you'll hear, uses the Trinidad Creole, a register that I was not educated in, being a dutiful attendee of a convent school, where I encountered an increased love of books and lesbianism. This is a poem about Juve, which, as if you've been to Carnival in Trinidad and had the Carnival experience, you'll know really heralds the beginning of the mass. Juve is a kind of place where if you have any inhibitions about yourself And in particular, any of the secret selves you want to be, this is the place to release them. All the dead, all the living. At Juve, it doesn't matter if you play yourself or somebody else. Play your dead 80-year-old granny who had tongue like scorpion pepper, 2 foot like twin fish tail in Cora River, a smile like a butter knife cutting through hot cider. Play your living mother, who made of more parts glitter than flour, who teach you softness, have more than enough space to leave a cutlass waiting, glistening between fat folds ready to chop you from a bed of ample waste. Play all the dead and all the living in you, in your short pants, in your badge-on drawers, in your ragged fishnets and curry gold batty riders, in your half-top, in your no-top, breasts swinging under electric tape nipples, panty forgotten in a culvert, overflowing with holy water and hell liquor, your own perspiration sliding between bodies at play, like the wetness from your body is purgatory unction. Play yourself. Play yourself. Wine on point and wine to the 4 stations of the cross, Dirty Angel, Bragadang Batting, St. James Sukuya, Deep Bush Dwen come to town to make a killing in mud, and mother-in-law on fresh doubles after. Play like you ain't playing in your public servant office on Ash Wednesday. Calves aching and twitching in sensible slingback heels, a pulse in your lower back blossoming each time you bend down to file a papers, salute a clerk, say grace before ashes. You know where you are, really. Just how you know the clerk is a Shantwell, the office is a concrete antechamber before the final mass. The pavement is a bus head convergence. The parking lot is a Gael. The savannah is an arena where paint and a beer might wash, but spirit does linger. You are waiting till next year. Where you plant yourself this Juve is where your spectral midnight lager who rattling she coffin, turning wolf to woman to wolf again. I'll see you in Carnival next year. Thank you.
Good night. This poem is called The Night Autobiographies of Leopold Dice. It's as much a celebration of that man's name, him, Leopold Dice, and where he's from. And the last line of the poem tells you. Not another man to out-talk Leopold Dice. All when the overproof rum dries up and flies get brave enough to pitch and sleep on the dominoes, putting more black eyes into the tiles, and moths falling in the ice, now pure so water, dust off their wings catching gold in the bucket from the bulb dropped from the ceiling in Cooleyman's gambling shop. Leopold Dice, spirited, measures out stories all about himself in the peony wallish shh, and the tarpaulins grunts when a breeze slaps it. We do our best to look awake, rocking on wooden stools, leaning on raw posts, the dark outside and the walk back home in our heads, frightened of duppy and thief together, and an owl's on and off coarse screech in the manchineel, interfering but not stopping Leopold Dice, who, in the prime of another memory, stabs a finger out into the night. To tell us when he was Commissioner of Water, we know it well. He was the first man to drive an open back Morris up Stony Hill, long before asphalt. A marine chariot, the piston butter smooth. He lights a cigarette, exhales. A better ride Ezekiel himself couldn't find to heaven. He loved how the Morris sounded, soundless, when he drove those Sundays through the Bamboo River, Bamboo Road to Rio Grande. Raftsmen spurring tourists down river shouted his name across the water, and he honked. The white people smiled, but hardly 2 years passed and all the shocks got loose and the engine started to slug like a battered dray horse due to the potholes and the merciless work of making water pipes reach every single yard, bush and gully, swallowed all over Portland. The Morris, dead before any of us born, nearly broke his pocket and spirit with all the trips to Bell Auto Repairs. But what griped him most to this day, after all the miracles he had to perform to plant the main pump down at Ranza Reservoir, all in the name of his party, not a drip came to the taps. Worst, it was on the eve of election. The wrench he used to strike the pump twice echoed in his hand. The man the Ministry of Water sent from Kingston, smiling in front of the crowd, in suit and long rubber boots, stopped smiling and started looking as if his mother just died. A look that said, "There goes the votes." The look that made Leopold Dice give up water. Perhaps so. For everybody knows, he stresses at this point, how ruthless politicians were then, worse than now. For a hitman then was 2 pence apiece. So he fly away, a term he grates his teeth on, to Miami, to pick fruits in the glades, every day wishing he had gone to Panama. But Lord, everything was in Miami. The only tension was America mad to drop nuclear on Cuba. Pigs even invaded the beach there. Leopold Dice stubs his cigarette, but they were bayoneted by the block. Yet the true tension, hotter than nations, was Isabella Fernandez Garcia, herself Cuban, who he was pledging out his soul case to. She dredged all the money he made in them swamps inundated with mosquitoes. He was so afraid a snake or something wild would turn him paraplegic. Isabel Garcia, a real black widow. Leopold Dice sucks his teeth remembering that life, but concedes, as we expected, squinting. The heartache she was causing forced him back, dreadlocked, nearly mad to his birth rock, now independent of Britain. Rum like Lego beasts in the roads. Leopold Dice laughs. The owl screeches again. He remembers roaming, hiccuping with his old waterbird friends, screaming, "God bless the Queen and the Queen's draws." Outwardly, he was a lark, though the island was no longer the green of his party, but orange of the opposition. And inside, where it mattered, he couldn't stand those new aviator-wearing politicians with their orange badges, orange flags, orange T-shirts, orange motor cards, orange the color of the damn fruits he picked so many bushels of in Florida. Only the sun left to be pulled down in one of them wicker buckets. Even now, Rhine scent sickens him. Anything citrus does if it is not cut with rum, for rum was life, then it covered him like a soutane. He draws an invisible cloth down his body to show us how it swam over him. Always, this time of the night, his voice slows. From somewhere, a stillness reaches for us, catches us, and we listen for the return. His voice slower, a croak. His eyes twinkle when he says, "The dice rolled his lucky number one night at Brian's Bay Beach session, where he met the local baker May, selling her coconut drops, grater cakes, gizadas, potato puddings with hallelujah in the middle. Her ginger beer strong, it burned his throat for days, purged him clean of wonder, rum, and other women. And yes, he admits, grounding his walking stick he didn't really need. Lifts himself up. They're not married. After 30-something years under the same roof, pissing in the same chamber pot, selling her baked goods together. Even still, sweet May, whose real husband not even God can make head or tail of whereabouts, was Leopold's Dice wife to the grizzle. May was Salvation own self after America. He nods, one jaw glossy in the bulb. Then finally, pocketing his pack of Cravenay cigarettes, flaps on his felt, he repeats the one phrase of true adjournment. Night, night, walk good until tomorrow again. Stepping into the dark home, we two shuffling up, Coolie man twisting the bulb off. We hear Leopold Dice shake the kerosene oil in the soda bottle torch, strike a match for the newspaper wick. The flame catches as we walk out to the dark trees and hills of Port Antonio. This is an excerpt from School of Instructions, which is back there for sale. That's the only reason I'm reading from it, so you could go and buy it. It's hard to put in context briefly, but essentially it deals with the West Indian soldiers' participation in World War I. That narrative, which is overlapped with the narrative of a boy named Godspeed, who is from, he lives in between St. Thomas and Portland. And he's not me. The battalion proceeded to Milo to fortify the old city walls. In the middle of a mall road snaking between tall canes, Godspeed met Pipecock Jackson, wearing a necklace of 2 flattened Coca-Cola corks, sweat stuck to his chest. Urim and Tumim, he called them. 7 John Crows flagged out of Soko when he strung the corks around the boy's neck. Then to the clashing silver-green sound of the canes, he said, I, Pipecock Jackson, Jack Lightning, Jesse the Hammer, Lee Scratch Perry, Daniel Dandelion, the lion, I am the flying fish. I boom death, and I boom depths, and I bust bets, and I win bets, and I sin death, and I kill death with my fate lock. Behold, I conquer hell with my Merry Christmas bells. I am a walking, talking time boom. Dandelion, the king of Zion. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Good night. May I go claim old man privilege and sit down? I just going to read 2 poems. They're kind of longish. Sorry. But it's only 2. The first one there's no context I need to give you. Everything is in the poem. I will say the poems I'm writing now, the name of the collection keep on shifting on me. It's about death in a more playful way, and Brathwaite is everywhere in the collection. And recently I realized that just the camera, the news team is always very often in the poems. I think, this could change tomorrow, but I think so far this collection is called In This Episode of the Caribbean. And so I'll read 2 other poems. The first one is called, and Jamaicans will quickly enough realize the source material for this poem, so I don't need to tell you. And if you don't know, the poem will give you enough. So this is Between Here and Every Promised Land. This is a very new poem. It's still bloaty and I will edit it, but it's fresh and I'm still thinking about it, so I'll read it. Sir Clifton Brown, from the most excellent line of Shango, which is to say, master metal worker, spent his dry days in the foundry, coaxing iron into burglar bars. What craft, these twists of metal vines, to make you feel your window was more than just a prison. Mr. Brown did not always know he could wrought words better than he could wrought iron. His a particular habit of speech, a rounding of the mouth, as if he was not just dispensing words, but simultaneously sipping hot tea. Mr. Brown rises to local fame on a wave of floodwater rushing down from the Blue Mountains, from Irish Town and from Mount Dispute into Mavis's bank like she did open all her accounts. Sorry. On wet days when the road looked like river and the river like sea, and within this island there are suddenly islands, you will find Clifton helping where he can. The news arrives, a woman in a plastic poncho clutching a microphone and two young men hauling cameras and whatnot across the deluge. They interview the man who appears as a hero in a white hat, or at least a white helmet, hoisting people, pets, and parcels across the churning brown. Oh, Mr. Brown arranges himself for TV, brushes wet leaves from his blue overalls, fixes the helmet firmly on his head, and clears his throat to speak for his people, for the stranded and always marooned, for the young men who tired now of throwing out their whole backs just cause they had to lift Miss Bertie and her 10 pounds of cocoa and 20 pounds of backside across the river. Miss Bertie, who never said thank you once, but complained the whole way, is like between here and every promised land is a River Jordan. Maybe Clifton is thinking of River Jordan when he says, nobody can cross it. Is only who can manage the waters, or if we are around to help them lift them over, is only so them get to come over. Nobody can cross it, is only who understand it, like a fisherman and a fisherwoman who can swim. In this episode of Jamaica, Clifton is renamed Cliff Twang. The interview clip is redubbed, set to music, released as song. Nobody Can Cross It climbs the charts like it was heading to #1. This reimagining perhaps of the harder they come, many rivers to cross, but I can't seem to find my way over. A most excellent line from Jimmy Cliff to Cliff Twang, new prophets singing old prophecies, is booked to headline Sting. Shares a stage with Beanie Man, Nicki Minaj, and Assassin. The DJ introducing him hypes the crowd. You all know him from Robertsfield, Jamaica, the man who told us how to come over. Coming to us now to sing his hit song. Welcome to the stage, Cliff Twang. And Clifton runs on the stage with his distinctive white helmet. The crowd jumps to the synthesized tune of Nobody Can Cross It. Clifton looks across the sea of people, and sees a future he had never imagined. A bridge he did not know could be crossed. A possible promised land. Then and there, Mr. Brown decides to be serious, to hire a voice coach, a road manager, backup singers and dancers, maybe even a choreographer. Too late. We have already moved on to the next and strange, exciting episode of Jamaica. Sorry. That's a fun point. You can count this down with me so you can get towards the end. It's in 12 parts. The 12 parts are small. It's called Lament for the Death of the Griot. The name comes from a poem by Joshua Beckman called A Lament for the Death of the Bullfighter. He's obviously punning off the... yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm really copying from Joshua's poem. And so I use an epigraph from his poem for this. And it is, at the news of your death, not a good poem was written, not in your country or mine. Lament for the death of the griot. 1. At the news of your death, Kingston Harbor threw up all its fish. Piscean geyser rising some 100 feet, 1,000 luminescent tails slapping the air. And how it surprised us, who thought the still black water held only tires and dead bodies, and Miss Silda, half blind, who could only discern the sudden shock of silver, thought she had seen fireworks. All day she greeted strangers with Happy New Year. 2. At the news of your death, by the way, this poem is playing with surrealism, man, but like this poem, pretty much until the last line, everything is true. But, well, the last 4 lines, but yeah, it's surrealism in the Caribbean, yeah. Anyway, 2. At the news of your death, an honorable member of the Guyanese House lifted into the stale parliament air 1 jet black 12-inch vibrating dildo. The government had mistakenly purchased it as a vibrating machine that could relieve the worst symptoms of COVID. It is further reported that 6 critically ill patients who now wish to remain anonymous, 4 elderly women and 2 married men, immediately went online, purchased one for themselves, and have since been given a clean bill of health. 3. At the news of your death, the day's catch of crabs climbed out one by one from their boiling pots on Heroes Circle and spat blue saliva on the faces of the vendors who had tried to cook them. The vendors, of course, ran, sturdy black women pounding round the long roundabout across the quiet graves of Prime Minister, signing those men's deaths with their wide footprints. And though that evening they clamored in front of news cameras to tell their side of the story, to give warning of the vengeful crabs, no one really listened and no one really cared. I did write that before, Alice, by the way. 4. At the news of your death, parsons could only say "rasshole" when they really meant amen, which caused pandemonium across the churches. Deacons reaching up to tackle parsons down from their pulpits, mothers slapping fat palms over the children's ears, but it was too late. The little wretches had already heard. Now schools have had to suspend the Lord's Prayer in morning devotion because the children insist on "yours is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever, rasshole." 5. At the news of your death, announced on 97.5 FM, a distracted chauffeur took a turn so sharp the back of his hearse flew open, delivering onto Highway 4B 1 mahogany coffin and its singular content. And despite the clear thud of wood hitting asphalt, the chauffeur, still distracted, continued on to church. The ensuing argument between mourners and driver was only quelled when the body, having had to walk the balance of road, limped into the churchyard annoyed, and then everyone was too busy fainting to hear the cadaver say, all right, I'm here, let's get on with it." 6. At the news of your death, the boy from Barrington Watson's mother and child stood up from his long constipation and declared, "I tired of this shit." And with that, he exited the canvas. Eyewitness reports have placed him on Duke Street, shoving his chamber pot into open car windows, begging confused drivers for a farthing or a shilling. The National Gallery refuses to comment. 7. At the news of your death, 2 sperm whales washed up on Jewel's beach, and all night they sang to each other the haunting song of their dying and of yours. And all in the complicated harmony of whales, the dark dialect of oceans. The next morning, the stench of their rotting was so thick, no one could venture near, and 3 hotels were evacuated. The morning after, the air smelled only of salt and almonds, and all that was found was the grand cathedral of their bones. 8. At the news of your death, every old man in every rum bar across these islands became sober. And no matter how many glasses or bottles they downed after, they could not regain their forgetfulness. At last they marched home, this strange army of slump-backed men walking in disappointingly straight lines back to their wives or to their joblessness or to their own broken faces framed in dim bathroom mirrors, back to all that could no longer be forgotten. 9. At the news of your death, which was a Tuesday, everyone said it felt like Sunday, and Sunday felt like Friday, and Friday felt like the beginning of the week. People showed up to gym in their church clothes, to fetes in their pajamas, but no one commented. No one said anything at all. This is what grief looks like. 10. At the news of your lynching, which was before your death, and which you had recorded dutifully for some 20-odd years, We grew impatient and kissed our teeth. Like men adjusting their paisley ties, we adjusted the nooses around our necks, giving ourselves just enough breath to say, all right, man, all right, just get on with it. 11. At the news of your death, not a good poem was written. Not on your island or on mine. We just sat at our dumb computers, bashing out from our keyboards disjointed and incoherent syllables, not nation language, not Thai dialectics, not sycorax, just signifiers that could no longer signify. And then we printed them, and then we tossed them from open windows, and then we crushed them, and we tossed them from open windows, shouting to the streets below, it is not enough. 12. Kamau. At the news of your death, all my books flung themselves from their bookshelves and landed on the floor weeping, even my copy of Omarus. Some books confessed they loved you. Others said they didn't realize how much they loved you. And still others said they had never heard of you, which made the missing in their hearts all the more surprising. And all I could do was sit with them, sit with the rustling sound of books in mourning. Kamau, it is 3 years now, and the books have only just begun to climb back up to their shelves. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Give it up for Shivanee Ramlochan, Leone Ross, Ishion Hutchinson, and Kei Miller. Give them all a round of applause. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for evening 1 of 2 for the 2023 PREE Writing Studio. We do invite you to consider joining us tomorrow evening, where there will be more readings and more conversations. There will be a reading by Garnet Cadogan. There'll be a conversation between Kei Miller and Edna Broadbaugh titled Deslaving Information. And there'll be another conversation between Garnet Cadogan, Natty Edwards, Roland Watson Grant, and Annie Paul titled Wither the Caribbean Essay Tradition. Due to time constraints, we apologize for not having the conversation on publishing by Sharmaine. But Sharmaine is around. I believe I saw her. If anyone would, there she is. Sharmaine, do you want to just show your hand? So for anybody who would like to have a conversation on publishing, please see Sharmaine afterwards. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.